Hey friend, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here listening to another episode of the Pattern Design Circle podcast. Here we talk all about the ins and outs of designing knit and crochet patterns and running a business that makes it all possible. I'm Jessica, your host, knitting pattern designer, design mentor, and the friend in your ear. Can't wait to dive right in. The Pattern Design Circle podcast is sponsored by the Pattern Design Circle, a membership community for knit and crochet pattern designers that are feeling lost, lonely, or frustrated in their business. It connects you with a supportive community that's always eager to answer your questions and help you through the hard times. And there's loads of resources and activities specifically catered to business and designing. Sound like your jam? Check it out at snickerdoodleknits.com/design-circle. That's snickerdoodle, like the cookie, knits, knits.com/design-circle. All right, let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Pattern Design Circle podcast. I'm so excited to be here chatting with you once again. And this is another featured designer replay. I've been hosting a featured designer of the month on my Instagram to just dive deep into the stories of designers, to learn more about their background, about what brought them to knitting and designing, and then dive into more of their design process, their inspiration, and their creativity as a whole, and how their other hobbies and interests outside of knitting and designing play a role in all of it. So I'm very excited to bring this discussion to you. This chat is one that I had with Julie of Julie Ann Knitter and Twin Stitches Designs. And it's just, Julianne has so much energy. If you're familiar with her work, I tend to associate it with bright colors and socks. She does do some sweaters and things like that, but she's just such a vibrant, positive energy on Instagram. And so anyway, I'm so excited to be able to share a bit with you about our conversation that we had about Julianne's whole journey and how she got started designing and design process and design inspiration and all of that. So I hope you really enjoy it and find lots of inspiration and something that you can take and apply to your own life. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to this month's featured designer chat. This is August, if you're watching the replay. And today we have Julie of Julie Ann Knitter and Twin Stitches Designs joining us, and I'm so excited. So we both were a part of a publication, third-party publication, that just announced the designers at the beginning of this month. So I thought it'd be fun to bring Julie on to talk. And I see she's here now, so I will invite her on. And we'll get started. Hello!
Hi! All right.
How are you?
Good, how are you? I'm trying to move so that, like, the window and all the light.
Yes.
All right. Put you right here. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be chatting with you.
I am too. Just making sure you're like not gonna move. All right.
Yes. So first of all, a question that I should have asked you a long time ago. Do you typically go by Julie or do you typically go by Julianne?
So my actual name is Julianne, but for the longest time people call me Julie, and I go off. I usually say Julie because a lot of people sometimes think Ann is my middle name. Honestly, either one doesn't bother me whatsoever. I know a lot of people call me Julie and others call me Julianne, but yeah, it's whatever. I'm good with both.
Perfect.
Grabbing my knitting.
And then the other piece of homework I did not do was to ask how you pronounce your last name.
Are you French at all?
Nope.
Okay. So my last name is obviously my husband's, and he's more French. It's Lebouthillier.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I definitely want to.
No.
Right,
No.
if I were to try.
don't worry, we have heard it said so many ways, like throughout, like just having like the girls and everything, and just we've heard it butchered. So don't don't worry about it.
No, buddy. Hello to everybody joining us. I saw a couple hellos coming through.
Hello,
friends. Joining us live.
I had a question. Oh, I had someone ask if you were going to save this live.
Yes. And then I'll have the replay saved on my profile. I don't know if I can tag you as a collaborator on a replay video live. But I will.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
I can.
I've done them with Whitney. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can.
So I'll tag you as well if you want it on your profile.
Yes.
Okay.
Please. That'd be great.
Yeah, and then I also add it to my YouTube channel for folks that aren't on Instagram. But if you're watching the live here, obviously you're on Instagram, so yeah, it's not helpful. But yeah,
just in case if somebody can't make the whole live and then they want to go and check it out after. I find that's awesome.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, like, how often are we actually able to catch a whole hour-long live that somebody does?
Very rarely.
Yes. Replays are so nice. It's fun to be able to interact and have folks here live. It's fun to watch them live, but the reality is everybody has a life.
Gosh.
So.
And half the time I'm watching someone live, I don't know if you guys, you can let us know what you're up to, but I'm doing something else. I'm either like cleaning or I'm knitting or I'm working or whatever. At the same time, I'm listening to somebody live. So we totally get it.
Yep, I'm usually washing dishes because that's something I hate doing, and somehow it's better when I get to listen to something.
That's usually when I'll video chat somebody and I'm like, just talk me through cleaning my kitchen.
Yes.
Like.
Yes. So at the very beginning, before anybody was on, I said this is my featured designer chat for the month. I do this every month where I have a featured designer, and I'm probably going to call you Julianne because that's what I'm used to from Instagram.
Perfect.
And I were both designers inside of the Knitters Planner for 2023. So they just announced the designers this month. So I thought it would be fun to go live together.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And I'm so honored you asked. And I remember when you messaged me and you're like, I heard you're the other designer. I was, it's awesome. So absolutely honored to be a part of that. And I cannot wait for the knitting planner next year.
Yes. Were you part of it last year as well? No. Okay. But you have the planner.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember you talking about the planner, but that's fun.
Yeah, no, I have the planner and I absolutely love it. So for anybody who doesn't know what we're chatting about, there's the Knitters Planner, which is amazing. So this is the one from last year. And both me and it's Jessica, right?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if it was Jess or Jessica. Me and Jessica are both designers in the 2023 Knitters Planner. So it's so beyond exciting for that.
Yes. And if you go to the Knitters Planner, their Instagram or their website, they are doing a bit about each featured designer. So Julie was the first one at the beginning of the month. And I think I was this week. I saw a couple posts yesterday.
I'll have to go check it out.
Somebody just asked where it's sold. The website, I think, is knittersplanner.com. Yeah. But the Instagram handle is the Knitters Planner.
Yeah. And I don't think that the 2023 planners are for sale right now, right? I think it's
not
only this fall.
Yeah, I don't know the date yet, but
me either.
Yeah. So they're started talking about the designers. They've revealed the designs. Somebody else earlier said they're at work, they're paralegal, but still trying to pay attention to you guys. Glad it's being recorded.
Well, thank you.
For joining and for telling us what you're up to. So do you want to go ahead and share a little bit about well, first of all, actually, I want to ask, have you done much third-party publishing?
A little bit. I've worked with Knit Picks a lot in the past. This summer, I have a stocking pattern that was released in one of their books. That was crazy exciting. I couldn't believe it, so I did that. I've done, it was a subscription month box, Yarniverse. I did two patterns for that, two sock patterns for those. Um, yeah, here and there a little bit. I love it. I think it's exciting and it's something new, and you get to try and work with some amazing companies, amazing, like, just, yeah. I'm still in awe every single time I get to work with someone and I'm like, you want me? Like me? Like, I truly, it's just who I am. Like, yeah.
That's so
So,
fun.
yeah.
I for the longest time, um you've been designing like about 6 months longer than me, I think. Like you
Okay.
started design well, yeah, you started designing about the same time I started Snickerdoodle Knits, but I was
Oh,
at
wow.
a shop to start with selling hand knits. And
Okay.
it was about 6 months later that I started designing. So
Yeah, I started in 2018,
yeah,
late
I started
2018.
designing in April 2019. So yes.
So I was about to say pandemic, but no, it was later the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dates are all,
No,
all,
yes.
all the last 4 years, dates are mashed up together.
Yeah, so for like I always thought that I wouldn't really love third party publishing. Felt like maybe I wouldn't have feel like I had as much of a connection with the knitters and things like that. And so I was really hesitant to try third party publishing.
Oh,
Um,
really? Okay.
and so I had submitted a couple things to Pom Pom that were never accepted, and then I was like, oh, actually, I didn't want to design those things anyway. They're not my style.
Yeah.
And then I submitted to the Knitters Planner. So that was my first time working third party, and I was so surprised by how much I loved it. And I'm like, ooh,
I
maybe I
think
want to
I
do more of this.
I think it's the excitement of also having that big secret, not having it out there, doing something behind the scenes and just wanting to tell everyone about it and you can't. And then the excitement that kind of like is building, that you can't wait to just tell people. Like, so I completely get it.
I think also it's like when we're self-publishing, well, usually I'm working with a hand dyer,
Yeah.
but I don't really have other people on my design team. Like, and so it was totally a new thing to like just be able to hand over the pattern and they take care of the
I
photography.
know.
And it's like,
I know.
oh, this is nice. Like it feels well, and just like the connection, talking through the pattern and different things like that.
Yeah.
Like just felt it's like, oh, I'm not alone anymore.
No, and I've never, the few times I've done that, yes, like, so um, if anybody's wondering, kind of behind, we knit up our sample, we send it, and then they take the photos, and we also write up our pattern, and then they have their tech editor look over it. They have all of those things behind, so it's like you're sending your baby out in the world, and you're like, please take care, like, and it's so incredible to see them taking the photos and seeing, I don't know, it's so much fun. I really love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I would have loved it as much, like starting off.
Yeah.
But now I'm like to the place where I can really appreciate it and value it.
And like, I always tell this to people because some people are like, I've done this before and I never get accepted for anything. It's like, if you only knew how many, like, we don't get accepted, like, don't be discouraged and keep trying and keep trying. Like, hopefully one day.
Yes, there's also so many different opportunities out there that you don't even know about until you really start.
No, yeah, I agree. I haven't even opened it up there like too much because I'm crazy up in my ears in design, so I'm
Yeah.
just trying to stay afloat. But oh my gosh, Lorinda of the Knitters Planner is amazing to work with. Like, it was awesome. I loved it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lynn said, just up from the barn, made a coffee and knitting on my Be Still tea. Don't get to catch very many lives. Thanks
Hey,
for joining,
Lynn.
Lynn. Yeah, okay, so I think the only other thing I wanted to mention before we got started, 15 minutes later,
We're good.
is that you will be a guest inside the design circle in
I will.
October, I think. So,
Yes. I
I
checked the
know.
date this morning.
Perfect. Um, I know I've seen a few different folks from the design circle are on here. Julie Ann will be chatting with us about using Patreon as a tool for income as a designer. So
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that.
I'm excited too. I have no idea like what it's like, the questions and everything. I absolutely love sharing knowledge, and I love being able to help anybody that I can. So I think it's awesome.
Yes.
I saw Whitney join. Hey, Whitney.
And Moonglow Yarn
Yeah.
Company said hello. Is that Whitney?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hi, Whitney.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess maybe that's a good segue to talk a little bit about how you got started in
Sure.
Patreon, because you don't just design, you have Patreon and you're selling other yarn.
I am a little bit. So Patreon is something that I tried 2 years ago, and I'm always open about this. I tried 2 years ago, and I had one person sign up. So I had one amazing person, and I was like, I was very thankful that at least one person wanted to. But after a few months, I was like, there's still only one person. Maybe this isn't the time, or I need to rethink what my platform I want it to be. So I tried Patreon again. My God, not this February. It's been about a year and a half, and it's created this community of makers that I could never have thought. Like, I get super emotional anytime I talk about it because I am so thankful for them. We have over 160 members active in the Patreon group right now. And monthly we have Zooms, we have free patterns of the month, we have knit alongs, we have a private Discord group. We have so many things. We have swaps going on. There's so many things active in that group that so many people have come to me and said, like, I feel like I actually have a community of knitters. And I'm like, that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted you to feel like, you have friends and we can knit together. We can do things together. We even have a book along. We have yarn dyers of the month. Like, there's so many things happening there that it's just, yeah, I tell my husband it's blown up because it's just, yeah.
Yes, so exciting when it like works the way it's supposed to work.
And it was definitely like a slow build. Like, the first day was not 160 people. Now, would that be amazing? Absolutely. But it takes a lot of time because people need to feel like they need to know you. They need to know, like, what is this platform? A lot of people aren't familiar with Patreon, and what am I paying for exactly? I'm seeing someone say, I'm a beginner and I feel intimidated when around other knitters. Absolutely. And that's one of the biggest reasons is my Patreon group has some people who just picked up their needles knitting, and I have others who've been knitting for 50 years. And it's just a lot of fun because knitters keep helping each other, and it's just a really good mix of good people.
Yes. I'll add on to this as a response to the comment. Sometimes I still feel intimidated around other knitters too, so don't worry.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you can't compare yourself because you just can't.
Yep.
So, but yeah. So, yeah, no, Patreon has grown a lot in the past year and a half, and it just keeps growing. And I'm just so incredibly thankful for that. So yeah, we have that, and we have designs, and then we have the YouTube channel and the podcast, and then we also have somewhat of a little shop. I'm going to be slowing it down because everything's kind of like piling. So I'm like, okay, Julie, like you've gone, you know. So yeah.
So exciting. So how did you get started in selling yarn?
It was something that some of my patrons actually came out to me and they were like, this would be so much fun if we could buy things all in one place.
Mm-hmm.
So so they wanted more of like a one-stop shop to be able to buy like some patterns and have the yarns. So that was one of my big things, is that I wanted also to sell kind of kits that were with patterns that I've designed, and you could buy the yarn in the shop, and you could buy the notions, or you could buy things that you didn't have to go to 5 different makers, right? So, and to save on the shipping. So that's kind of where it started, where I was like, okay, I'll try it out, see how it goes. And if not, I can't say that I haven't tried. I'm willing to try anything once. So yeah, it was some patron members that came to me and were like, it'd be really fun if we could just buy from like one location. So I was like, okay, let me try this out. And so yeah, it's kind of where it started.
And what all dyers do you have in your shop?
So right now I still have 8. We only have 8 left of the Coffee House Sock Club. So that's 3 full skeins sock sets that I'm going to be designing the Coffee House Sock Club this fall. That's from Vita Lifestyle, who is Victoria, all the way from New Jersey, and she dyes like crazy gorgeous yarn. We also have a ton of just her mini skeins and full skeins. We have Mama Jess yarns, camp fiber yarns, a little bit of sweet skein of mine, Yarnaceous, Vita Lifestyle, Circus Tonic Handmade, Polka Dot Creek, Craft Nut Yarns, Myrtle Yarns, Flock Fibers, and we have some Wool & Co.
So fun.
There
so
we go.
Thanks.
So yeah. So
Yes.
anyway, yeah. So we have tons of those, and like I said, I'm going to be slowing it down just a little bit, just because I need to kind of get my head, over water, because there's a lot going on, and all is coming, and yeah. So have some fun things planned.
Yes. Do you have any things planned that you can share?
I do. So, actually releasing tomorrow is this tee that I have been like wearing constantly, and people are just probably sick and tired of seeing this tee, but I'm still going to show it anyways. So it's my olive branch tee, and I absolutely love it. I love something that is flattering to everybody. So it is size inclusive, goes up to a 60-inch bust before the positive ease. And yeah, it's knit and fingering weight at a very loose gauge. There we go. And I just love it.
I love how it has like a little bit of detail, but it's not like overly complicated or.
And also, if you see a lot of my lace tees, you'll see that a lot of the lace is a little bit upper than on this area, because look, we all wear a bra, but we don't need everyone knowing what color of bra we're wearing. So, and I didn't want to feel like people needed to wear a tank top underneath, because I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So having this lace a little above, you can just wear the tee like it is.
Yes.
Yeah. So a lot of my tees, you'll see the lace is a little bit upper, and it gives kind of that flexibility.
Yeah. We have some folks saying they're excited to get the pattern and want to make it. Maria
Comes out tomorrow.
Marie said that she was wearing her everyday tee yesterday.
Oh, thank you, friends. Yes, and I'm actually working on a new design. I'm obsessed apparently now with olive. So this is out of We Are Knitters in their Easy Breezy yarn. So I am designing the adult pullover, and then I'm doing the color work, the white, and then I'll go back into the olive. So yeah, and then this one's coming out in October. So they'll come out in children's sizes, women's sizes, and men's sizes. So gonna be it's gonna be a beast. So that's what I'm working on as we're chatting.
So fun.
Yeah.
So how would you describe like your design aesthetic? Like what do you try to create?
I try to create, so for socks, I don't know if I have a certain style for socks because I just find that they're so fun and whimsical and you can really make anything. Socks are a way to just, I don't know, like I love the color work and I love the cables and I love like, so for socks for me, they're kind of like all over the place because I love it all. For garments, I love things that are classic and that are wearable, and that also that try to fit multiple people and look good on multiple people. I want you to have like the T patterns that I have. I want you to feel like you can just pick it up, wear it with a dress, wear it with a pair of jeans, make 10 of them in different colors and be able to have it as your staple wardrobe. I want things that you feel like you want to wear and that are wearable because I don't want to knit a sweater and you raise your hands and and it's not comfortable. I want people to feel good in what they're wearing. I want people to feel, yeah.
Catherine said Julie's socks are how she plays with newer fun things. I swear they are your version of a slash.
Thanks, Fran. Yeah, so socks are something for me that I don't have a box. Like I don't put myself in a box for socks. Oh, that's cute. Okay. Because I just find they're so much fun. I love playing with whimsical, like my watermelon socks. People really love that, like the more whimsical. And then I have my more serious, like cables and textures. So yeah, I think it's just having fun and being creative and yeah, figuring out new ways to play with color work and stitches. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's how I would describe it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely would like fun is like the main word I think I would describe your.
Oh, thank you.
I usually think of like your socks when I think of your work, and then like fun, bright, colorful.
Most people do. I'm mostly known as designer of socks, so I think it's a lot of fun, and yeah, I I don't think I'll ever get tired of socks, and I don't know why or how, but there's just so many beautiful yarns and combinations and patterns, and like I don't know. I don't know.
So how did you really get into socks? Like, did you start off with a lot of socks, or did you kind of find yourself in that niche?
So, do you mean in designing or knitting them in general?
Designing.
So, designing socks was something that I found that was more approachable for me rather than designing a garment from the get-go because socks was something that I was already passionate about. I knew how to knit. I knew how to knit the multiple sizes. I knew how to do a heel flap and gusset. Like it was just things that were in my wheelhouse. So adding some textures or color work or things to that my base knowledge I already knew, I thought that that was more approachable than me trying to knit, I don't know, like a full cable sweater seamed and all of these things, right? So I had already known the base of socks and just adding some fun elements. I was like, ooh, okay. And when I first started designing, I thought, and I told my husband at the time, who's still my husband, but just like at the time. At the time, I told him, I said, you know what? If one person buys my pattern, I'm going to use that money, and that's going to be my yarn spending money. I said, whatever money I make from designing, that's my like extra spending money that I'm going to use to buy yarn. And he's like, oh, yeah, like, it won't. And I released my first pattern, and like a few people bought it. And I'm like, holy guacamole. Like, it was it was amazing, exhilarating, like I couldn't believe it. So then I just kept designing and designing and then finding really my groove into what I really liked designing, what I didn't like. And it just kind of continued from there. I had friends that were yarn dyers that were so generous, and I used also some stash that I had. Yeah, and it just kind of grew from there.
Yes. So
But I
fun.
always encourage anybody, if they want to start designing, just do it. Use up some stash. Like, that's what I did. I used up stash yarn and I tried it. I put it out and I was like, do you want this? And I just think that, yeah, it's why not try,
Yeah.
right? Like, you'll never know. And we all have such a different aesthetic that I think some people have a tendency to say, oh, there's so many designers out there. Yeah, but you're not going to have the same look. You're not going to have the same aesthetic. You're not going to have the same mindset or the ideas that somebody else might have. So there's room for anybody.
And I think such a big part of our business is usually we are the face of our business and nobody else has the same personality that you do.
Exactly. People mostly know me for, and I'm very transparent. I'm a quirky person. I'm very, very honest and very there. Some people are more hidden from their business. I'm just like, here I am. I hope you guys like me. Um, but yeah, it's fun. It's being able to see other people, and you must feel that way, make or knit a design. It's like, yeah, somebody actually knitting up a design. It's just like, wow, like that
Yeah.
feeling of,
Yes. And another thing to go back on, you mentioned like how it was a journey of you like kind of really finding your groove and what you enjoyed. And I think no matter how prepared you think you are or aren't at the beginning, it's always going to be a journey.
yeah,
So you don't have to wait to
absolutely.
figure it out.
No. If you have the passion, the only thing that I will always say, that I always say to everybody, um, tech editor and test knitters are key if you are starting out. Please do not try to publish a pattern without those. They are key. Um, so yeah, that's the only thing I will always mention is to please. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of funny because we see, and I was the same way. So many designers that start out and they're like, oh, I don't have a budget to pay a tech editor. Um, but then really that's when we need it the most because they teach us so much about pattern writing and,
Mhm.
finding errors and all of
Yeah.
that things.
And if anyone also is wanting to be an inspiring designer, there are Ravelry groups. And I'm sure, Jessica, you know about those, like the budding designers and things like that. And there's some people in there who are just starting out tech editing and want clients for the first time. And sometimes they'll even do it for free to kind of build up their portfolio. So if you're both kind of starting out, you can help out each other and you can find the connections that way. So there's like Facebook groups, and I know there's budding designers in Ravelry, and I know there's one more.
There's just designers. I don't remember if there's much of that
It's
kind of stuff.
budding designers is one of the top ones. So
Yeah.
you'll have a bunch in there.
Catherine said, and the design circle.
Yes.
We have, there's multiple designers inside the design circle who are also tech editors as well.
Oh, that's nice.
The place that I used to use a lot was the Tech Editor Hub Facebook group.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tech editors there and a lot that have like recently finished the tech editing course and all of that.
Yeah.
And so if you just post on there and say, hey, I'm looking for somebody,
Yeah.
that's a good way to find.
Yeah.
Well.
Absolutely. Especially if you're just starting out.
Yes. Yeah. And there's always, maybe there's other services that you can trade somehow
Yeah.
where you can help each other out without having to pay monetarily.
Absolutely.
Somebody said my bosses are getting on my nerves. They keep giving me work.
How dare they? Don't they know you're unalive? I should not do that.
Yes, yes. So when you were talking about your socks, how you got into it, like, well, how it felt like the approachable thing. I was very much the same way, but I was with shawls. I hadn't
Oh,
been
okay.
knitting that long before I started designing.
Oh,
And I
wow.
had just like learned how to make shawls, and so then that was the thing. Like socks were definitely a no. But shawls like became my thing because that was like my palette where it was like, okay, it's easy to I can do the math, I can figure out how to play with textures and colors and different
Yeah,
things. And so I feel like we're kind of giving tips for anybody who's new. But if you're newer, wanting to start designing,
absolutely.
start where you're at. You don't have to
No,
be a knitting master.
no. Just
At
get a
all.
test knitters and tech editor. That's the one you can't cheap out on.
No, yes. And I actually, maybe instead of making the whole live about test knitting and tech editing, I have some blog posts on it. So if you're curious, you can go to snickerdoodleknits.com. But my main thing for test knitting is the test knit. Oh, Yarn Pond is
Yeah,
it's a paid service, but it's amazing for finding.
I haven't used it, but I know I need to get into that because I find sometimes when you're doing like garments, some sizes are harder to find than others, and I mean it's a lot of time, a lot of yarn, a lot of commitment. So I know something. Um, Marie said we learn so much as a test knitter too. Yeah.
um, Yeah, so Yarn Pond is something that I've had a lot of newer designers really appreciate because they don't have the audience and stuff to build from to fill their time and stuff. But that reminded me, I've been on your testing list for like probably at least 3 years, and I get all of your messages on Ravelry, but I haven't ever tested for you.
No, I've never seen an application.
I
Okay.
I was doing a little bit of testing before I started designing, and then
Yeah.
I haven't. I've done like one test since. So
I I test it here and there. I think that it's a nice break from designing. I think that it's fun and also you get to learn how somebody else's brain works. I think it's brilliant. Also gives because when you're designing, you are constantly like right now I had to do some color work ish thing, but right now I'm in rows of stockinette. So I can do this at the same time we're chatting, don't need to stress about it. But if I'm doing something else, I'm like, okay, I'm doing this, many rows for this, and then that, and then so you're always trying to write down what you're doing. But when you're doing someone else's patterns, you are literally just reading a recipe and following along, and it's just glorious. Like it's
that
just
is part of why when I can, I like to write my pattern before I start knitting because then it's like you get to just knit it.
I do that too. People think people think I'm crazy. And I'm like, no, I follow a pattern. I know exactly what I'm doing, where I'm at, da, da, da. Like
And I figure it's like a first round of test knitting. Like
a little
it's
bit.
easier to catch mistakes that way because it's like, oh, that wasn't right. Like
Exactly.
so.
I'm totally with you. I do that a lot.
So, I feel like I'm just like working backwards. Usually I like start at the beginning, but now that you've talked about your designing already, how did you get into knitting and designing?
So knitting for me, ooh, when I was extremely young, I have the same story as everybody. My grandmother knit. She gave me two long straight needles cast on, and I was making a scarf that went all wishy-washy. Never went further than that for me. Just, it wasn't something at the time that I really wanted to get into. So fast forward to 10 years ago, I was sick with a cold in bed. No joke. And I thought, you know what? I'm stuck this week. Why not go to Michael's, get some yarn and needles, and teach myself how to knit? Like, that's out of nowhere. I decided, you know what? I'm just going to So I bought some lion brand yarn, and then I bought these wooden double pointed needles, and I taught myself on YouTube how to make socks on double pointed needles and everything, and they came out like, like quite Bigfoot size. But I learned all of the techniques. I learned, how to do things. And after that, I thought, okay, I finished a pair of socks, was more slippers, and I did a Farrell hat, colorwork hat. I was like, let me dive into a colorwork hat. I didn't have a knit group at the time. I didn't have Ravelry or anything like that. I just was going off of, I like it, let me try it. And I always encourage other knitters to do things like that, because if somebody tells you this is hard, you're always going to have that perception of, oh, fudge, I can't do that because it's hard. But whereas I was going in blind, I didn't know that it was supposed to be hard knitting slippers on double pointed needles or a colorwork hat. Colorwork was a complicated thing. I just learned from the beginning. And I kind of never stopped knitting from there. Yeah, so, and I've been knitting over 10 years. I've been designing patterns over 4 years. I now think I have like 120 something patterns, which is bonkers in 4 years. So yeah, no, it's just kind of started from there. And then my journey into designing was, I had some yarn and I thought I had an idea for it. I used it on a pair of socks. That was my changing season socks. And people bought it. And I was like, okay, this is a thing. Like, it was never something like, I'm going to be a knitwear designer. And I just followed my passion of, I want to make something. I wonder if other people want to make it too.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
so fun. So if you have, I don't know how I was going to phrase that question. Basically, where I was going.
Don't worry about
it. Is what kind of tips or advice do you have for designers from like the business perspective? Like maybe they've started designing, they found their passion, but then they like want to grow as a business. What kind of?
That's a good question. So, I'm trying to think more. So if you're wanting to grow into a little bit more designing, it's just because I see myself as a small business, because I'm only exactly like you. There's nobody else on my design team. Like, I am me, myself, and I. I'm the only one. But first, I think it needs to come. Make sure you are designing things for yourself and not for anybody else. That's a huge one, because what happens is when we start designing for other people, we think, I don't really like this, but I know that they're going to like this, or you're trying to mimic somebody else. At the end of the day, you're not going to like what you're doing, and you're not going to feel inspired because you are trying to be something that you're not.
Yes.
That's like one of my top tips, is make sure that it's coming from you and that you want to make it, because you want to stay true to yourself and you want to create an audience that is going to respond to that, and that is also going to resonate with you, because you are creating an audience of people who also like the same aesthetic that you like. Whereas if you're trying to do something else and you're trying to say, I'm going to mimic Hoki Locatelli, okay, but that's not your style, even though like she's like a god in my eyes.
Me too.
So if you're trying to create a different type, you're gonna burn out, you're gonna not feel authentic, and you're not gonna go it for the long haul. And you're also gonna create an audience that is not really true to who you are as a designer. So figuring out who you are and what you want is like one of the biggest basic things you can do to grow.
Yes.
Because once you start doing that, it's just gonna organically come. Organically, people are gonna find you. Like, some people have been asked, like, by very rude people, like, did you use, like, oh, you've grown so much, like, did you pay? And I'm like, no, people just love me. Like, yes. Please. But it's just, you don't use those things. Don't use all of that. Just be you, authentic. Make sure your designs are what you want. And people are going to find you. People are going to love who you are. Yeah, I think that was, and be also like show yourself. People don't just want to see knitting, they want to buy from a person. A lot of times you're going to support a maker because you like their personality, you like who they are, you like, the person behind the business, you want to support them. So I think a lot of that has to do with you being the face of your business.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that was a
I feel
lot.
like all of my, so I have a podcast for designers. I feel like almost
Ooh,
every podcast turns into that rant. So I totally agree.
absolutely. And it's so hard because you hear some people being like, well, I know that others would like this. Yeah, but do you like it? Is that what you want to be designing? So what I do is I design things that I want to wear, and I hope that others feel the same way. And also, like, not every single thing that I make, people are going to want to knit. Okay. Because I can, sometimes I can shift in things, and some people will be like, Julie, I don't know what that is, but I don't want to wear that. And other times they're going to be like, this is it. Like, so it's, yeah, just stay true to yourself, and people are going to follow. People are going to find you. People are going to do that.
And it's going to make it so much easier for you not only to design, but to show up in your marketing and as a business.
Yep.
Because otherwise, you kind of have to put on a false front, and that can be really hard
Exhausting.
to bear for a long time. Yes.
It's exhausting, and a lot of people sometimes will be like, Julie, you're always so happy, and think it's because that's the kind of energy that I want to bring around my business. I want to bring that type of positivity where, you know what, hopefully I can make someone's day. Hopefully that they can watch and feel happy and be inspired. And, that's the type of person I am. So that's always what I try to bring to my
Yes.
platform.
Yes. Yes. And then I guess, so you mentioned like first thing is like get to know who you are, which
Yep.
I totally agree. But I will also go back to the journey idea and say, if you don't really understand who you are yet, that's okay. You can work through that. I feel like the first like 3 years of my business have been me like really figuring out who I am. And now it's like,
Yep.
oh, now I get it. But
And
yeah.
I absolutely agree. When I first started designing, I didn't have like a full laid out plan and being like, I'm only going to design this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. Like, I think we are always still discovering who we are because we're changing and we're constantly, you know,
Yeah.
evolving. And it's just that I think it's just the main component is staying true to who you are as you're growing, staying staying that person. I think is like one of the biggest things.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay, so this is a fun question that I
Oh,
sometimes like to ask, and it can be a hard question. So,
all right.
what are what are 3 words that you would use to describe yourself?
Quirky. I would like to think I'm approachable. I would like to think that. I always
I
try.
would say you are.
Okay, thank you. I would say quirky, approachable, sarcastic.
Yes, I love it. That's so fun. Um, Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something. I've done it a couple times where I kind of start the featured designer thing like that, and it's kind of just a fun way to like get to know. So something I love about these chats. Catherine said you're super approachable.
Thanks, Catherine.
um, like what I love about lives, and you do a lot of lives, but
Yeah.
is really getting to know more of the personality of the designers. There are so many folks that are hesitant to do live videos and things
Yeah.
like that, and you really don't get to know who they are and what their
I mean,
personality is like.
it's scary putting yourself out there. It's scary doing a live video. And I mean, the internet, you don't know who's behind the computers, and it's scary. And it's just, you're always going to have that worry. There's not a time where I'm going live where I'm not stressing out. Okay. I'm going to not try to stress out. But But there's not a time where I'm like super confident and be like, I'm amazing. People are just gonna love me. Like you're always gonna have that. But yeah, I have some followers that are usually always in my lives and like we have a blast. We have fun. We chat. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think when you're willing to be vulnerable and put yourself out there, that's when you can really like create the deep connections that are really valuable because then the other folks are actually excited to connect with you
And they get to know you.
yes.
Like I find that a lot of people, what they forget when you're starting designing or yarn dyer or whatever, is that the person behind the business is as important as the product that you're putting out. And I think a lot of people forget that, where they think, you know what, oh, if I just have pretty yarn, people are going to buy it. And it's like, yes, to a certain point, but people people will buy from the person rather than just the product.
Think about how many people, I mean, when we're talking about designing, how many people buy Joji Locatelli, Andrea Mowry, Caitlin Hunter patterns because it is Joji or Caitlin or
Yeah,
Andrea.
absolutely. You know that person and you created a connection, or you know who they are. Like it's huge. It's huge to know that there's a person behind that business. Or if they're yarn dyers, you want to know, oh, I love being able to support another mom. I love being able to support, a local person who is local to me. Or you can find that connection and have that with your audience. And I think that's huge.
Yes, yes. Um, so do you want to chat? I'm realizing time is passing a lot faster than I thought.
I'm good.
Do you want to share a bit about your interests outside of knitting and designing?
So my main thing that takes up 90% of my time, I have twin girls who are turning 5 in January, which is mind blowing to me that I have almost two 5-year olds. So they are Claire and Chloe. They take up most of my time. I love them. Usually, we absolutely love bringing them to the beach or taking walks in the parks and trails and things. We just really love trying to bring them out and about together. I absolutely love reading. I could read a book a day. I have a Kindle and I'm obsessed.
Yes.
Yeah, I read and knit at the same time. I love it. Other
What's
things I
your
love.
favorite? Go ahead.
Oh, no, you go.
What's your favorite kind of books to read or?
So I have two different types. I have the cheesy romance, like that are just, you know what? Look, we all kind of like the easy, simple romance. Now it could be a little bit steamy, or it could be, fine. I'm good with both. I also love like cozy mysteries, like those like Knit One, Pearl Twos, and like Murder at the like those simple mysteries. I don't want like, you know, all the complicated ones, but yeah, those would be like my two genres. I use like that romance, chick lit, and then I also love those cozy mysteries. I love them.
What are you reading right now?
Right now, I am reading two different books. I usually only knit one or read one. Um, so if anybody knows, it's called Joanne Fluke, and she has like 20 something books in this series. It's ridiculous. Um, and I am reading book 14, I think. It's a murder mystery. And then I'm also reading the one for our Patreon group, which is the vampire knitting. Can't remember the name. I'm awful.
I feel
Anyways,
like I've heard of it, but I have no idea what the title.
I can't remember it.
Somebody submitted a question and said favorite book.
Vampire Knitting Club. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you. So yeah, that's this month we have in the Patreon group, we have a read along for the first time. So we're reading, they voted and we're reading that one. So I've started it and it's so good. And I'm hoping to finish it today. But yeah, except for that, I love sewing. I'm not good at it, but I like it. Trying to make
What
quilts.
what do you mostly make quilts then? Sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, don't apologize. Yeah. So grab it here. So this one, for anybody who quilt as you go, it's a method where you use like your fabrics and you quilt it onto the the like quilt batting, and then you join the back, and it's just like strips, like so pretty. So I'm gonna sew all of these all
So
together. Yeah. So there's like, it's gonna be a big lap quilt. I'm actually hoping to finish it today. And yeah, so I'm not the best because like the seams are like nowhere near um matching, like not even one bit. Like this is supposed to be level. Is it level? No, it's not. No.
Who's gonna be
But
looking in your lap though? So
it's, you know what? I'm planning more family quilts and the girls are super excited for it. So I'm like, who cares? It's
yeah.
gonna be on my couch.
And
So
I think that it's important to do more of things that we just enjoy. That's something I realized with a lot of like hobby stuff was a lot of times we start to put a lot of pressure on ourselves about it being perfect and then we don't enjoy it anymore and it's not just fun.
and I think a lot of that also has to do, if you are a knitwear designer, your job is your hobby, which is great and a lot of fun. But I do also think that that's why I do test knitting, or that's why I do like a pattern from somebody else, because then that's more my hobby, right? Rather than the design, which I love, absolutely adore, it's my passion. But sometimes you need kind of that mental break of being able to have that vanilla knitting or potato chipping,
Yeah.
like the kids say.
um, so question about your girls. Have they
Mhm.
showed any interest in like any of your hobbies?
The girls want to knit. Can they knit? No. So I I'm a thrower. So when I knit, I take my yarn and I loop it. So that's just how I knit, how my grandmother knit. Just so every night I knit on the couch so every single night we take our family time where after supper, baths, everything, we watch TV together. The four of us all on one couch, and Chloe's usually always next to me. And she's like, in French, she's like, "Can I help? Can I help?" And I'm like, "No, sweetie." But when she does, she'll come on top of me and I'll say, "Okay, you take that yarn," and then she loops it. So then I knit, and then she loops it, and I knit. So it's yeah, it's I've tried with like, I have super bulky yarn from We Are Knitters. I think I got through like 2 stitches and they were done. They're like, me try. And I'm like, child. So I think they will be knitters, especially Chloe, because she will actually pick up my needles and will just go like, and like she'll just laugh and she thinks like I'm being like mommy.
That's
So
so adorable.
yeah.
Maybe not so easy when you're actually trying to knit, but
No, usually I'll get her to help me throw when, it's something a little bit bulkier, like worsted, over, not a fingering weight, but they love it. They have fun with it, and I think they will. Um, Whenever they want to, I will teach them. Absolutely. And then I told my husband, I'm like, then when I can get them into like their knitting, they can knit up like some samples for
yeah.
me and get a little production line going. But no,
Yeah, that's so fun. Samantha asked, do you sew by hand or machine?
machine. Yeah, I have a machine, and yeah, I really like it. I do know that you can quilt by hand. I just don't think I have the time. It looks incredible and looks amazing, but with between the two girls, the designing and everything else, I just, maybe once I'm retired,
Yes, yes. Yeah,
who
I
knows
don't
even if
have the
that'll exist.
patience for a hand sewing, I don't think.
And it's so funny because people are like, well, you have patience for knitting. And I'm like, Yeah, but that's a complete different thing. Like that's two different things. Like that's
Yes.
not together.
Yes. And when you like, yeah, there's machine knitting, but when you don't already have a machine in your house, it's not like, oh, there's a faster way I could be doing this right now. Like with the sewing, a lot of us start with a sewing machine, and so it's like, why would I go to hand sewing if I have
It just
something
doesn't
to do
make sense.
faster and cleaner, probably neater.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So yes. Do you sew any clothes or
Oh
bags or
God, no.
anything
Oh
else?
God,
No.
no. No. No, I am really not good. Like I can sew the basics. Okay. I can sew the basics and um I can hem stuff and things like that, but I'm thinking in the fall to take a quilting class. I have a local quilt shop and they do a quilting class. So it's like 10 weeks where you actually go in like every Thursday and for 2 hours and they do like a different block or whatever. And you got to learn all the techniques. And I feel like quilting is one of those things that I need somebody next to me helping me with the cutting or like the sewing together because it's just a mess. It's a
Well,
little
I
bit of a mess.
find it kind of funny, not funny in like a I'm laughing at you way, but like that you do like the quilting and you're like, I
Yeah.
can't do other stuff. And I'm like, quilting is like the ultimate hard thing to do in my mind. Like I've I basically started with, well, I did like a blanket, but I guess I kind of did a quilt thing, but it was like big, huge squares. um, and then
Quilting's
I
hard.
did a lot of skirts when I was like in high school
Ooh.
for myself. That was most, and then some bags. But like for me, quilting is like the hard thing. I think it's because there are so many different pieces. Like when you're
I
doing like the small strips and stuff, that's what feels
well,
intimidating to me.
do you know like I want to show you because this one you are actually like barely cutting anything. So this is called quilt as you go technique. And you are actually using a jelly roll. So you use the 2.5 strips. So you just put them on, sew, and then chop off the excess, and that's it. So you're not having to cut little tiny pieces. And then when you put it all together, it creates like, but that's all with two 2.5 strips.
Okay.
So you're not really doing anything except for just sewing it all on a block,
That's fun.
which is great. I want more of
like
those.
the cutting part is the worst part.
I love finishing. I'm a lot of people. Okay, I have a question. Are you a process, or a project knitter?
More of a project
Same.
because yeah, like I love knitting. Obviously, like I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy the process. But I'm just excited to have the finished thing.
Oh, I need to finish stuff. Like that's my goal. Like I'm like I gotta get this done. I am. And
Mhm.
some people can knit the same swatch over and over and just enjoy the actual process of knitting. I think I would just rip my hair out.
Yes.
I'm like, no, I need something. Like something needs to get done.
Yes.
But yeah,
I used to feel like guilt around that. Like,
yeah.
um, the fact that like I'm just excited for the project. I'm not as excited about the knitting, but yeah.
And I also think it's different. Like some of the projects, I enjoy the process more. Like
Mhm.
if you're changing colors or you're doing something and you're seeing that color work, or if there's something, but just on a normal, like this, tee, where this is just all stockinette after the lace. Yeah, no, I want to plow through that like as fast as I can. Okay.
Yes. It's only been more recently that I've started to actually enjoy stockinette, but I just sit and watch or listen to something, and so I'm not paying attention to my knitting.
Why do you think I
I would
have this during our live?
I have definitely been known to fall asleep when knitting stockinette because it's so boring.
No way.
Yes. So
I,
that like for me, especially in my earlier designs, it's like, okay, I really need something that's engaging to work. Like, I'm not just gonna sit here and knit, knit, knit.
I think I need always a balance because my life is so hectic with my girls, and I think a lot of my designs kind of reflect that also, where you have a little bit of the a little bit of technique or a little bit of something, and then it's kind of smooth sailing because I need designs or projects that are at different stages. Where at night when I'm watching TV, I can just knit in the round. When I'm here chatting with you, I can knit in the round. And then when I have more time for myself, then I can really sit down, focus, follow chart, whatever it is. So I
Yeah.
think it's also kind of having that balance of different projects.
Yeah, and for me, it's now that I do a lot more, but I have a lot more work outside of my designing with mentoring designers and the design circle and the podcast. My knitting doesn't have to be as engaging for me because my brain is operating
Yeah.
high enough in other areas. And so it's been interesting because it used to be really hard for me because the stuff that I love to wear is stockinette, and I hated knitting it. And now I'm finally getting to the place where it's like, okay, I actually enjoy knitting the stuff that I enjoy wearing.
Yeah. It takes that. It takes time to develop and it takes time to, to get to that, but completely understand.
Yes. So do you have some of your designs you want to share with us?
Well, I'm in my yarn room, so what do you want to see?
Um, I had asked what your favorite designs were, and then I didn't. It's left on the email. I don't have your list. Do you
Oh,
remember what you said?
oh, good gosh. Favorite designs would have to be the watermelon socks. I really love those.
Do you have them
Um,
next to you?
I do. I do. Let me bring them. I will bring you. I will bring you through my room. Um, I think I do. They're somewhere. We have tons and tons of yarn. Do, 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 do. I'm trying to think. Like, it's ridiculous how much yarn and how much. Oh, right here. Here we go. So these are, are these the one? Yeah. These are the watermelon socks. And I think they're just so stinking cute.
They're so adorable.
So this was Hello Summer Sock Club with Whitney of Moonglow. We had she has kits in her shop, and then I designed some fun patterns to go along with it. So this is definitely one of my favorites. Heather said those are the best. Love the watermelon socks. Thanks, Heather. Yeah, so this one is definitely one of my favorites. April Showers is also one of my favorites. Was also a collab I did with Whitney.
That is one of my favorites of your designs.
Oh, is it?
So
Thank
cute.
you. So it's super, super simple. And then it's like rain, but it's also gradient in the color work. And then
Uh,
some fun stripes.
so
Um, those two are definitely some of my favorites. I don't have, because I gifted them to my mom, but I have Fingering Weight Cold Winter Nights, which is also one of my favorite. This is my worsted weight version. So
that's
it's like green. If you want like a comfy, cozy pair of socks, like so good.
it's like totally is like what, on a cold, snowy afternoon, it's like you want to curl up with those socks on the couch and read a
Oh
book.
yeah. Cold Winter Night has to be one of my favorite just because it was like my third design or fourth design that I ever came up with. It was something that I had in my brain. I knew I wanted to design. I knew and I just yeah. And honestly, the one that I'm wearing right now is one of my favorites. I've not wanted to take this off. Like I've been so ridiculous that like the last podcast, like I think the last two podcasts I've had, I'm wearing it. All of my lives I'm wearing it. I'm just like, I love it so much. You need to see it.
I love that we can get away with things like this in our community because we get it.
So yeah, I think oh, and also I absolutely love I know it's basic, but my double-stranded socks. So I came out with holding fingering weight double, and I have sizes, I want to say toddler all the way to adult large or extra large. And it's just using up your leftover yarns, using up those fingering weight, and you hold it double, and I just love it. And I've knit so many socks that way, and it's
Those
just
are
a
all
lot of fun.
so cozy looking.
I'm in East Coast Canada, so it gets cold here, so that's why we have all the comfy wumpy socks, I call them.
That is the one disadvantage. So I'm from Montana originally,
Okay.
to winters, and now I live in North Carolina where we're lucky if we see flurries of snow in the sky.
No way.
So yeah, it's totally different knitting weather.
Oh no, here was it last year last winter was so bad, snow wise amount that we had. So I'm in New Brunswick, Canada. And so we have our shed and we have a tree. Well, it broke our little tree because the snow, can you tell what's on my brain? The snow was piled so high over the shed that we could walk onto our shed's roof. Like it was crazy. We have a six or 8 foot fence, and there was only that much missing for it to be level to the fence in our backyard. And that's like not plowed or anything. That was how much snow had fallen. And it just kept falling and nothing was melting. So we get a ton of snow. Like if you want snow, Jessica, I'll send you some. I'll send you some this year, okay?
I love the look of snow. I don't like being cold. I like being cozy. So I like being able to wear my hand knits, but I don't like going outside and like getting frostbite as soon as I walk out. And
there's this time. I agree with you, but there is this time when it's after, I don't know how, because you guys are Fahrenheit or whatever, where it's like less than -10 for us, and where you are cold, but if you wear your hand knits and you wear a hat and everything and you are like perfect temperature, we go walking in the trails so much with the girls because here they actually plow the trails so you can walk and you see like everything covered in snow. It's so magical, but I do admit that. And then you come in and you do like tea or coffee and it's just put on your wool socks.
yes, I don't mind. I can still go home in the winter.
When you want the snow, you'll go.
And we have the mountains here. They're not like the valleys that I'm used to, but we can go up in the mountains and there's some snow, especially if you go like into Virginia and stuff. But yeah, I don't. That's another thing where it feels weird to like say I'm a knitter and that I don't love the cold.
No, you like being comfortable.
Yeah.
That's okay.
And the other thing is my husband, he always has the temperature inside is always cooler than I would like it. So I year round I'm still wearing my knits. Just
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so Craft Knit Yarns had said that the scale socks are adorable too.
Thanks, Heather.
From New Orleans, no such thing as winter. Yep.
Oh, jeez. Well, you'll all have to come to Canada. We have enough winter for everybody.
We'll just have a retreat at Julie's house.
Yeah. Sounds good. Good gosh, if I could do that.
Well, this has been so much fun chatting.
I appreciate it. I'm so thankful you asked.
Yes, it's so fun. Where can folks find you in all of the places? Your podcast, your Patreon, all of the things.
Okay. I'm Julie Ann Knitter, both on Instagram and Ravelry. I have a fun YouTube podcast where I actually just filmed today and I'm about to upload it later. So that is Twin Stitches Designs on YouTube. And then my fun Patreon group where every single knitter is always welcome. If you search Twin Stitches Designs on Patreon, you will find us there. Or you can just go to my profile in my Instagram, and I have my link tree where all the links are all there for you. So, yeah.
So fun. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Absolutely.
The time absolutely just like
Yeah.
flew by. It was fun just to hang out and
I
chat,
love it.
get to know a little bit more about your work, and
Yeah.
super excited to talk to you in the design
October.
circle in October.
I know. I can't wait. I'm super, super excited for it, and it's going to be interesting.
Yes. And thank you to everybody who joined live. And if you didn't catch the whole thing, the replay will be available on both my account and Julianne's. So
Yeah.
I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your week, and we'll chat again sometime.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Talk to you later.
Thanks.
Wow, thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you found it valuable, please share the podcast with a designer friend. And if you have a minute, leave a review. It's so helpful for me and means the world to me. Chat soon.